We are terrifyingly close to the Royal Rumble, if you do take things too seriously, which you're allowed to do. Admittedly, I'm more of a ridiculous human being, but the Royal Rumble is still important. As we talked about last week, I do believe in 2025, it was the most watched WWE event of the year, so more so than WrestleMania, which basically means that the Royal Rumble is now WrestleMania, so if you do win it, you are going to be the typically top. We've talked about who we'd like to win, who we think will win, but there are some WWE superstars that need to win it. That's right, need, because if they don't, where the flub are they going to be? It's a bit like Drew McIntyre needing to beat Cody Rhodes on that SmackDown in 3 stages of hell. WWE did pull the trigger. So are they going to pull the trigger on these folk? We're about to find out. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Comment too. Hello. Shouldn't have done that. Let's go. So number 10, let's start with the one that you want to talk about, which meant I've done this list in reverse. It's Mr. LA Knight, and I totally understand this. However, there's a caveat, and you will know what I'm going to say if you watch my content a lot, and I appreciate that. But yeah, LA Knight's in a very curious position. Apparently he was backstage at Raw, which of course is in Germany, so is he going to pop up on the UK tour? He's probably just doing some press, but he could be on Raw. Next week he'll be on SmackDown tonight, because I'm recording this on the 16th of January, whatever the flub it is. I mean, he's a Raw guy, but WWE sometimes doesn't worry about that. Now, I think that it could be LA Knight versus CM Punk at the Royal Rumble, which I think would be a great position for him, because if he's going after the World Championship, well, one, he doesn't have to get thrown out of the Royal Rumble, and then you won't get a 2015 situation with Daniel Bryan. Or was it 2014? I can't remember. There was 3 Royal Rumbles in the middle of the 2000s, which just did not work. And even if he doesn't become the world champion, which I doubt he will be, if you get a couple of weeks of him cutting promos with CM Punk and doing all that hullabaja, I think it will be good. Although the Finn Balor match is Monday, so that kind of moves the time zones a little bit, or the timeline, I should say. But if he is in the Royal Rumble, WWE is going to have somebody majestic to throw him out there and make you go, oh my gosh, I think LA Knight's going to be taking on this guy at WrestleMania. Because otherwise, there are a big contingent of LA Knight fans, I've considered myself one of them, although if he doesn't win the Rumble, I'll be totally fine with it, who will be like, what are you doing? Why aren't you pushing him? And let's not forget, where LA Knight is now, we're still in an incredible position. If somebody told you were going to be there after you took your first bump, you'd be over the moon, and you'd do a backflip, but that just may be where WWE sees him. Maybe there's not room for growth, for lack of a better term, which I'm sure would frustrate LA Knight and his fans, but you just never know. But again, he's a upper card guy. I mean, he's been in lots of main events, that Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia, had the clash in Paris last year. I think if he's in it, at the very least, he needs to have a great showing, and it would have to be somebody like, a Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns would have to throw him out, although we've done that match, so maybe somebody else. But a Randy Orton would have to throw him out, and then you'd have to do a Randy Orton versus LA Knight feud, which WWE's not going to do. It just has to be somebody big time, and it has to lead to a big time match. Usually, what would have happened to a person like LA Knight, sort of 10 years ago, or maybe a bit longer now, he would have had the Undertaker match, right? You would have started here, and you would have done LA Knight versus the Undertaker, with the whole story being, can LA Knight defeat the Undertaker? And the answer would have been no, not at WrestleMania, unless Brock Lesnar hadn't have beaten him, then I guess LA Knight would have been one of those guys. But that's the position he would have been in, so really WWE needs something like that. They need a main event attraction that is not the literal main event of WrestleMania, although LA Knight could easily main event it these days. There's 2 of them now, so it would be okay. But I think he does need the win. And 9 is going to surprise you, but it kind of goes back to what you were just saying. I don't want Brock Lesnar to win the Royal Rumble, but I think he needs to win it. Well, it's the same reason. I'm copy and pasting. We'll try and get through this one quite quickly so I can explain myself. But WWE sees Brock Lesnar as such a commodity and such a star that I would imagine if it was legit pro wrestling, he would always be the number 1 pick to win the Royal Rumble is Brock Lesnar, because he's the beast and he's the next big thing. Doesn't even make sense anymore. I mean, that nickname is now 25 years old, if you would like to feel old. 24, 25, something like that. He did go smash crazy in 2022, was it? Remember that Royal Rumble? It's like, oh man, I can't believe we've done this. I think he broke, or he's tied the record with how many eliminations in one match. But the Brock Lesnar match at WrestleMania kind of falls into this Undertaker zone. I mean, not really, but most people would expect Brock Lesnar to be at WrestleMania and win, right? I mean, we haven't had him for a couple of years, because of course he only came back at SummerSlam last year. So if he's not going to win, he's another person that has to do something big. Now, if I actually truly thought LA Knight could beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, I would be going after that one, but I can't see it. I just realized what I need to do is actually jump to number 8. I don't know why I've done this as a top 10 list, not meant to be a top 10 list, but these two actually do join forces, because number 8 would be Gunther. Now, Gunther, to me, needs to win the Royal Rumble or have a caveat. I'm sure you figured it out. Because, of course, he is on this tear following John Cena. He should not lose for the entirety of the year. We need to find out ways to make sure that he continually wins. He should retire AJ Styles if that's the direction we're heading. Actually, if we do a 3-match program with AJ and the last one is the retirement, Gunther can lose in the middle, but you take my point. But marching into the Royal Rumble, everybody should be like, oh my gosh, everyone's totally screwed. Here comes the ring general. He tapped out John Cena, therefore he's going to win. And I think it's the same with Brock Lesnar too, because again, you want to keep the aura aura, to use the 2025 words. Like, you can't just have Tozawa throw out Brock Lesnar. I would love that. I'd be over the moon, but that's not how WWE treats pro wrestling. So this is where I think the two are going to collide. I think people have wanted to see Brock versus Gunther for a while. Gunther has talked about it being, I think he said it's one of his dream matches, or maybe it was put to him, do you see this as one of your dream matches? But the fact that was even a question. So I think the way that WWE gets out of this, and to protect the characters they beat around to these guys, is they knock each other out, one knocks the other one out, and then you get the whole thing, even though you've been eliminated, I'm now going to eliminate you. And for some reason, that's perfectly fine, or they never changed that rule. It's my favorite rule ever. It makes me laugh. Then you get to WrestleMania, and yes, Gunther should beat Brock Lesnar. And then when Brock Lesnar retires, he should then challenge Gunther, and Gunther should beat him again and send him off back to Saskatchewan or wherever he lives. But they are two guys. Gunther can't even be a sniff of, oh my gosh, he lost, apart from what we've already talked about. So in the Royal Rumble, it has to be like someone like Brock Lesnar, because you can get away with it. But then Gunther needs to eliminate him, and everything's going to be fine. I mean, everything's going to be fine anyway. It's wrestling. Number 7 is Roman Reigns, same old deal, and he could actually win the Royal Rumble, right? But he needs to win it because he's Roman Reigns. Like, when was the last time Roman Reigns was in a Royal Rumble back to back? Like, he was in last year's, but usually he's the champion, is what I'm saying. If you go after the last 10 years, Roman Reigns was usually the champion because he had a 1,316 reign with a title. So if he enters a Rumble, WWE needs to treat him as a favourite. And this year, given all the stories going around and the video we did on Monday, please do go watch that and appreciate it. I'm trying to make sure a card, gets timed in here, but just write it down on a piece of paper and watch it. Why not? But yes, I think that Roman Reigns needs to win. He needs to win it from a Roman Reigns point of view. The issue here is I think that Joe Anoa'i, to use his real name, which I shouldn't do, is going to win it. I think he would be the guy. There's other people, some of which we are going to talk about later for a very similar reason. But yes, if Roman Reigns enters anything, because he is a part-timer face of the company, he always needs to make an impact when he does return. So he's another guy. I'm going to put my money now. Obviously, we'll do an official predictions video soon. But if somebody forced me to put money on someone right now, it would be Roman Reigns. But if he's not going to win, then WWE needs to come up with a plan, right? It's not like someone come up with a name, Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed can just get thrown out and not even be a part of a story, which sucks. I love Bronson Reed. The reason I use Bronson Reed, of course, he beat Roman Reigns on the Australia show, Crown Jewel, whatever it was. But even then, Bronson Reed could just get thrown out and everyone will be like, oh, that's a shame. If Roman Reigns gets thrown out with no sort of gravitas or no importance, there'd be a meltdown on the internet. Therefore, he needs to win. Number 6 is Liv Morgan. Now, I thought Liv Morgan was going to be in the title match of the Royal Rumble. It's quite clearly going to be Raquel Rodriguez if we do that. So I think Liv Morgan does need to win the Royal Rumble. I think that's fair. A lot of people have sent me this. We did your predictions last week or whenever it was, and Liv Morgan's name came up a lot, as did LA Knights, because you want to get behind her. You want to see her go on this babyface tear. I think if she's going to beat Stephanie Vaquer, but the thing is now, is that actually Raquel Rodriguez could beat Stephanie Vaquer. Let Stephanie sort of heal up that injury she's got, even if it is minor, and then you can do Raquel Rodriguez versus Liv Morgan. I think if Liv Morgan does win that Royal Rumble, she's probably going to be a babyface. Then, of course, she can take on Raquel, and not only does that end the Judgment Day, which we absolutely need to do in the early part of 2026, but it's a feud we basically planted the seeds on. So I think that works very, very well. And I think Liv Morgan now, even though she does very good work as a heel, because she was out with that shoulder injury, it's probably just time to bring her back. I would imagine WWE's waiting until Dominic is cleared, so you can do it there. But I totally understand this. If Liv Morgan does not win this Royal Rumble, a lot of people are going to be raising eyebrows because, especially before she got injured, she had so much momentum and people were excited to see her do exactly what we just have laid out. So now you can do it. I also just think that Liv Morgan should be in the title match at WrestleMania. WrestleMania is still 3 months away, right? That's so long away. You cannot expect that Liv Morgan's going to fall off. It's not going to happen. Right? She's done that 180 a couple of years ago when she first turned heel, and it's been awesome ever since. So let's ride it out. Let's keep it obvious. And if Liv does win, then you have the needed momentum to turn a babyface, and everyone's going to be happy. Just point of wrestling. However, the caveat to this, of course, is if Bianca Belair returns, throw in her at number 5. You can't have Bianca Belair come back and not win the Royal Rumble, is my point, unless she is going to get thrown out by someone like, I would say Rhea Ripley, but we basically did that last year. You want to set up a match for WrestleMania. People go, wow, we're going to do that match? I can't believe it. And now I can't even think who that would be for Bianca Belair, because she's kind of fought everyone. Becky Lynch would work, but that doesn't really seem to the direction we are going in, although you could do Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair for the IC title, but I think AJ Lee and Becky Lynch are on a collision course, hence why AJ Lee isn't in this list, right? That kind of sums it up. She didn't need to win the Royal Rumble. She just needs to take out Becky Lynch, because that's the story that we have been telling. But Bianca Belair to come back and make a huge splash, given she's been out since last WrestleMania with her terrible broken finger, goes to show. Some people want, why has she been out so long for a finger? Because wrestling injuries are crazy. And what you actually need to, well, the shape you need to be in to do wrestling, you have to do wrestling to totally understand. I'm not saying that disparagingly. I don't know how to cook a steak because I've never, well, cook steak. I don't know how to cook like a nice meal because I've never cooked a nice meal. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to go down this walkway. So it would be interesting. And actually, given back what I've just said, I think I'd have Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan in there at the end. You are walking on risky territory, but I think we need to take big risks. And as long as you do pay it off down the line, I think it's fine. Maybe you need another heel in there as well, like a Roxanne Perez or something like that. And she should throw Bianca Belair out, because I think you want to keep Bianca Belair babyface. I think she's such a wonderful, good guy. You shouldn't change that. But WWE better come up with a plan here, because Bianca Belair comes back, it should be like a Cody Rhodes. It should be like a Roman Reigns. It should be like a Charlotte Flair. Right? Charlotte Flair obviously had her big run last year, and now she's kind of, in a good way, actually fallen off. I think it's actually improved her as a performer. But when Bianca returns, she will be firing on all cylinders. So it's like a lot of people on this list. If you haven't got a plan, you're in trouble. Number 4, you're going to roll your eyes, but this all depends. I'm leaning into what people on the internet say, all right? And that is Chad Gable. Now, Chad Gable is coming back soon. I think he will be in the Royal Rumble. I think he's almost a lock to be a surprise, because recently you saw him all ripped and everybody said he's cleared. But you need surprises in the Royal Rumble, so why do it too soon? But if you genuinely want Chad Gable to get a push, and I remember last year, especially when he was going after the Intercontinental title, it's probably 2 years ago now, everyone was saying this. Why can't he win the Royal Rumble? Instantly, someone would go, well, he's not a big enough name. That's the whole point. You have him win the Royal Rumble to become a bigger name. Now, do I think he's going to win the Royal Rumble? No. Do I think he stands a chance? No. But I do think that if all of a sudden he comes back and he falls back into the same position that he was, which was kind of a directionless leader of a heel group, still super entertaining. And in terms of matches, one of the best. Absolutely could be elevated up the card. But I do think there'll be a contingent of people that will raise an eyebrow. Like, I don't understand why we're not doing more. And there is something to be said to that. So he should be someone that gets to the Final Four, even more so because he has returned. I think if you're a surprise return in the Royal Rumble, you have to get to the Final Four. Or if you don't, that's WWE's way of essentially saying, well, we don't see you in that bracket. For example, I think Chris Jericho will return to the Royal Rumble. I don't think he'll win it. I think he'll be in the Final Four, unless they've come up with some amazing person he can fight at WrestleMania and they throw that somebody out. Like Trick Williams is another one. Because Trick Williams is a heel and because you know he can talk, I don't think he needs to win the Royal Rumble. I think he probably needs to get into it with a Randy Orton or someone like that we've already talked about. But unless there is an amazing story for Chad Gable, or he's going to win that IC championship, which he certainly could do, he's not going to win the Royal Rumble, but he needs something. If that something isn't the Royal Rumble, you better sort it out. Number 3 is Sami Zayn. Now, I think Sami Zayn's going to win this mini tournament we're doing on SmackDown. He'll be victorious at Saturday's main event. And the title match will be Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. I don't think Sami Zayn will win there either. Again, we'll talk about that on the officials predictions video. But if he is in this, and he's another one that doesn't get to the Final 3, I would say, maybe Final 4, maybe Final 2, there is a lot of people. Sami Zayn is so interesting as I cut myself off. I'll go with 50-50. It's not 50-50, of course. But 50% of people are like, man, this has to be Sami Zayn's year. We've got to give him the title. I just want to see it. Don't even care if it's one of those weird title reigns where you're the champion, but not really the champion, because WWE does it all the time. He's deserved it, right? He's earned it. That classic phrase. And then you have 50% of people going, he doesn't look like a wrestler. I can't believe he's going to be champion, which I find very weird. If you want to live in a world where people just look like wrestlers, quote unquote, then you go back to the 80s. And now everybody craps on the 80s. I think you need big guys, small guys, fat guys, little guys, tall guys, whatever, right? If you can go, you should be able to go. You need it to be like a buffet cart, and you should be able to pick your poison as and when. Same with the women, same with the men. You should get all different shapes and sizes. If Sami Zayn is going after the World Championship, and that is his story for 2026, this has to be done right. Because obviously he can't fail twice. He's not going to fail to Drew and then be in the Royal Rumble. But let's say somebody else does win. Let's say you do Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre or something like that. Then that's why it's more interesting, because Randy Orton does not need to win the Royal Rumble because he's Randy Orton. That's another reason why I put Sami Zayn in the Drew match. He's like LA Knight. It takes him out of the Royal Rumble. And you can tell his World Championship story later on down the line, whereas Randy can just do whatever you want with. He's a legacy star. But I really don't know. Like, what is Sami Zayn's role at WrestleMania? I don't think he's going to win the championship here. I don't think it's going to be Drew versus Sami Zayn for the championship at WrestleMania. I don't think that CM Punk and Sami Zayn are going to have anything, especially because Sami Zayn got moved to SmackDown a few months ago. So it's really interesting. And you don't want, whatever momentum Sami Zayn has, you don't want him to lose. He's such a curious character. He'll be fine anyway, because he'll always have an amazing match. And you can give him a microphone and he'll be able to get over whatever you want him to get over. Go back to the WrestleMania with the Jackass match. One of the most incredible things ever. But he's in such an interesting position. I think he'll probably win it at a Survivor Series or a SummerSlam or or even like a Money in the Bank, a B pay-per-view if you want to call it that, PLE. But he is not someone that can just be hurled out of the Royal Rumble for fun. I kind of think what you want to do if he does go into the Rumble this year is you want to hark back to Shawn Michaels in 2010. I always get my dates wrong. But when Shawn Michaels had decided, oh, Undertaker, you won't give me my rematch, therefore I'm going to cost you your world. Well, no, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble to challenge you for your world title. Then Batista throws him out, and Shawn Michaels is the best exit from a Royal Rumble ever in terms of emotion. He sells like his world has come to an end, and he pops up in the Elimination Chamber and smacks the Undertaker in the face. Costs him belt in order to get that match. I think Sami Zayn, if he is in it, should do the same. There should be a big angle or something beforehand where he puts it all on the line and then someone takes it away from him, which of course then sets up a match at WrestleMania. But you need to treat Sami Zayn with an extra bit of love if he does go into the Royal Rumble. This may be a waste of my breath because I think he's going to be in the world title match. Number 2 is Bron Breakker. This is everything we have said and more. If Bron Breakker is in this match, he probably needs to win. Actually, gun to my head now I've thought about it, I think the last 2 will be Roman Reigns and Bron Breakker, and everybody will be on tenterhooks. I kind of think you can get away with Roman Reigns winning, Roman Reigns winning, and having the big firework display, and everyone will be like, I love you, Roman Reigns, whereas Bron Breakker's not going to get that. He's a heel. And Bron Breakker going mad in the Elimination Chamber, and that's how he gets back to CM Punk if we are going to do that rematch there. We've got 3 months, like I say, you can do it beforehand, should you so wish. I actually think that serves both characters if that's the direction that we are heading in. I guess Roman Reigns throwing out Bron Breakker at the end of the Rumble, you just have to tell the commentators, and they would know this anyway, sell it big. Oh my gosh, Bron Breakker came so close. Oh my gosh, hit the CM Punk title match. Oh my gosh, what is he going to do? And then you play off the character that we introduced on Raw, that he's an insane person now, get to the Elimination Chamber, and whoever the other 4 dudes are, or 5 dudes are, he just kills them, right? And then maybe he kills CM Punk at WrestleMania. I've told you that story. Nobody liked it, so I'm not going to tell it again. He has to be in an important position, though. He needs to. Let's use the right words here. Let's tie it into the title. Because if he comes out at number 10 and he's out before number 14 gets in there, you have taken away any kind of momentum he has. And of course, he's going to be the world champion sooner rather than later. If I was going to hazard a guess, I would say Cody Rhodes and Bron Breakker leave WrestleMania as the champions. Again, I'm saying this in the middle of January. Even when we get to the middle of February, it's going to be massively different. But Bron Breakker needs to be a pet project in this year's Royal Rumble. And not because he's first on the roster or not because he's about to go after an IC title. It's because we're about to make him the guy. And there are ways to do this. Without winning the Royal Rumble, bring it back round again, you really got to think it out. And number 1 is a wrestler that I like a lot. And I'm rooting for him as compared to some. But Austin Theory is such a curious case. He came back, he was the masked man, so got some serious build. And then within 3 weeks, he just felt like he was back on the roster again. He's teaming with Logan Paul. They're probably going to go after the tag team championships. But I don't think he needs to win the Rumble from like a literal point of view. I don't think Theory, no offense to that guy, has a hope of hell of winning the Rumble. Although I'd certainly be for it. Because one of the errors I think we've made is that we did take the bloom off the rose too soon. All of a sudden, it was like, okay, Austin Theory is here. He'll probably be a tag team champion with Logan Paul before long. But I have a horrible feeling he is just going to get hurled out. Maybe by an Uso brother, which of course then sets up that program, which I'm totally fine with, but it just feels a bit lackluster. And I've said this time and time again, and this could happen, especially if he's actually in cahoots with Seth Rollins and he's kind of being a spy in the vision. But I just think Austin Theory would be a better babyface. And people then go, well, you don't know that. No, I don't. But this is like the 3rd time we've tried this version of the character. Maybe this one's a little bit more serious. I don't want to say I don't believe it, because I think that's massively unfair. I just think we take away all the traits that make Austin Theory work in a professional wrestling space. Now, we kind of saw it in the way back in NXT. We've never seen it on the main roster, and not every single gimmick is going to transcend because it's completely different audiences. I do understand that. But Austin Theory this year, I'm going to be watching him like a hawk because I'm a weird old guy. The way he gets treated in the Royal Rumble is going to tell a lot of people a lot, which is the dumbest sentence I've ever said, even if it's on a subconscious level. I think people do pick up on this stuff. Dolph Ziggler would be the perfect explanation. Even if you don't realize he's losing a lot, one day you're just a bit like, I can't really get as excited as I was about you, Dolph, because you know he's going to lose, even if it's deep down in your tootsie toes. And if Austin Theory just waltzes in at 18, does nothing, gets thrown out sort of, a few minutes later, that's not going to do anything for him. I can see him being part of the Final 4, but I still don't think that's enough. And that's why I'm banking, keeping everything crossed, that he is actually with Seth Rollins, because he's not going to win the Royal Rumble. That would help. I think all of a sudden people would look at him completely differently, but WWE's not going to do that. And if you want to make the point, that's what we did with the John Cena match at WrestleMania, which also didn't work. Understandable. I just think you cut his legs off by not allowing him to promo as Austin Theory. I doubt that's his real name, whatever his real name is, because he's a goofball. I don't mean that in a bad way. Kurt Angle was a goofball, obviously in the ring. wrestling, Kurt Angle was superior to everybody. You can't compare it there. But I just think he would connect better. And what do I know? Absolutely nothing. It's a feeling in the ether that I have grabbed onto. But man, does he need a good Raw. He really, really does. He needs such a good Royal Rumble. He needs to throw out something massive. And I hate to say it, I don't think he's going to. Now listen, don't take mine, because it's actually quite hard to come up with these. Who needs to win the Royal Rumble? It's why there's more men than there are women, because actually there's a bunch of women that could win and you wouldn't be surprised. But there's some dudes who are like, oh my gosh, they absolutely need a home run performance here, but I can't see it on the cards. I think it's super interesting. What do I know? Then please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which will be talking about some nonsense, as always, as we've talked about. Otherwise, grillermind.com/Simon. They have an awesome product coming out in 4 days. I used it over Christmas. If you're into creatine, it's good. Can't say anything else. Let's move on. Patreon.com/Simon316 to support me there. Simon316 on social media to call me an idiot. I also have a Cameo, I have a TikTok, and I have a Pro Wrestling Tee store. If you could go and support me on all of those, I would massively appreciate it. I had an awesome run of cameos recently. They were super fun to do, and it's nice to know what you're doing in your life, which is a creepy thing to say, but I've said it now. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the Royal Rumble. When it does come around, goodbye.